Tere hommikust! Good morning, everybody! Niisiis meie teine arutelu hommik pealkirjaga Araabia, inspireerituna kahtlemata eilsest üsna põrutavast teatritükist, mis põhjustas ka väikese võbeluse õhtusel arutelul kriitikute vahel. Nii et katsume siis organiseeruda. Please take your seats whenever you can. I'll make a short introduction in Estonian and then we'll conclude in, not conclude, we'll carry on in English. Meie keelepoliitika saab täna olema selline, et meie vestlus toimub inglise keeles. Tõlge on meil eesti keelde ja vene keelde, nii nagu ma asjast aru saan. Esimene kanal vist on eesti keel ja teine kanal on vene keel. Nii et võtke palun endale kõrvaklappe ja neid tõlkemasinaid, kes inglise keelest aru ei saa. Aga küsimusi võib esitada suvalises keeles, nii et ei pea tingimata inglise keeles küsima, et ma saan aru, et I think you have to take the translation equipment, because if there will be questions in Estonian or in Russian, then kas me saaksime 2 seda tõlkemasinat sinna? Jah. So we have 2 distinguished guests. Two distinguished guests from the Arab world and 1 distinguished guest from Estonian world. Peeter Raudsik, Lähis-Ida ja Araabia maailma asjatundja, õppinud Dohas ja eestlastele ilmselt on tema nägu ja nimi tuttavad ka Eesti ajakirjandusest. Ta võtab sellel teemal üsna tihti sõna, on poliitiline analüütik ja väga hea poliitiline analüütik. Ajakirjanikuna on ka olnud toimetav, nii et, aga tema oskab ka väga palju tegelikult lahti seletada Araabia kultuuri. And then we've got 2 distinguished guests from the Arab world, Hala Omran, an actress, singer, based in Marseille, France, as far as I know, but of Syrian origin and born in Damascus, am I correct? And Sulayman al-Bassam, a writer, he considers himself to be Anglo-Kuwaitan, is that correct? From his mother's side, his English, and from father's side, an Arab. And he's also working as a theater producer and a writer. So my task is to moderate this discussion, and we don't want to be very political this morning, but nevertheless, always when Arab issues come up, we end up with politics. But as we discussed with Peeter in the morning, we'd like to emphasize on the knowledge of Estonians towards Arab culture as a whole. We are lucky enough that at least 1 major piece of Arab culture has been translated into Estonia, and this is Quran. But the main sources of Arab culture, that means literature, especially poetry, has not been translated and is not very much known among the Estonian audience at all. And this could be the reason also for that after the performance yesterday, there were multiple people from the audience asking 1 question: what was the piece about what we saw on the stage? And now I have the opportunity to ask the artists themselves, what was the piece about? And what's the relation of that piece towards the Arab core culture, especially the Arab literature and Arab poetry. And then I'd like to have a comment from Peeter. So please.
Good morning, and very nice to be with you on this lovely morning in Narva. Yesterday I was led to talk a lot, so I will ask my beautiful companion Hala to tell from her point of view what our piece is about and start the discussion that way.
Hello. You are the writer. As Sulayman said in the beginning of the performance, it's the context of the performance of the piece is the Beirut explosion in August 2020. 4th of August 2020. This is the context of the text. The text itself, it's I don't like to say what is about actually, but from my point of view as actress, I can say that it's kind of it's not a theater piece. It's when I read it for the first time, it was for me like an article. I said, how can we make an article, make a theater performance out of an article? And then when we started to work on it, I discovered how much it is, it's not really an article, it's a poem. It's a poem about the resistance, but the poem about the utility of resistance. How do we artists do facing the violence that surrounds us, especially in our region, the violence that we are facing in each moment. Yeah, I think so.
We have had the pleasure of working together, Hala and I, for the last 10 years or so. All of the 14 years. All of the places that we have performed inside the Arab world. It was about 5 years ago that after COVID, I decided that it was very important for our work to try to focus on the cities inside the Arab region. Before that, we had been very lucky to tour a lot internationally in America or in Europe or in UK or in Asia, and at some point after the COVID, it felt to me very important that as theater makers from different parts of the region, that we have to focus on our region. We have to focus on the cities that we somehow have a deep association with, even though for many reasons, that's economic and political and even linked to the politics of culture, it's always easier when you are from the margin, as we are from the margin, to try to move towards the center. And the center in this instance is Paris, Berlin, London, New York, whatever, those places that. And so, with the last two productions, specifically I, Medea, which I wish for you to see, in which Hala plays a fantastic Medea. It's an adaptation of Medea. And this production, Mute, we made certain decisions about the economy of scale, meaning we work with music and with text, dense text, not easy text, it's dense, and music and space to try to create a new economy of dramatic form. And we consistently played the cities that we love and that we see being destroyed year after year. Tunis, Beirut, Cairo, again, Tunis, Casablanca, Beirut, Cairo, Kuwait. And we played them for many years, and going back there and build audiences there as an independent touring company. I was very stubborn that I said, well, we will do this even if we don't have so many partners, because we have to do this. Then we did have some partners also from the European South, from Napoli, from other places. But that was our situation. And Mute is, speaks very, very strongly to the young people in those places. I don't know exactly why, but it's very strong for peace for those young, particularly under 35, and even audiences that are not so literate as theater people. And for us, that was a great success. Well, I mean, I'm not going to keep talking. I just
Well, Peter, what are your impressions about yesterday's performance, first of all? And it might be very helpful if someone had a basic knowledge about Arab literature and Arab culture to evaluate, actually, the piece what we saw yesterday.
I'll first start that it's not only the Quran that has been translated to Estonian. There's much more Arabic literature translated to Estonian. Hala, Aswani, Jacobean Building, very good translation as well. You have even Gibran has been translated, even his Arabic pieces have translated. I think it was the Broken Wings from very early times. So there is a corpus of Arabic literature in Estonian as well. But now coming to yesterday, I think, I very much enjoyed, obviously. I think you're merciless to the audience in terms of the tensity of the text, because the people who maybe come to this with no background, with no before knowledge, I think it was a hard thing to digest, especially in such a late hour of the day. So it might have kept you awake for a while. But coming to the point that you also mentioned here, I just maybe want to ask myself first that in terms of this poetry that is being put forward in the piece as well, where do you see it stemming from? Because for Estonian audience, and it's really important to understand that it's really poetry for the Arabs and Arab world that is kind of the core art form, in my opinion. So it's not really theater, or historically at least. It's not maybe paintings and so on, but it's really poetry that you can, an ordinary Arab can access poetry from 1500 years ago. This is nothing like extraordinary. For Estonians, this is like unimaginable. Like, we can't imagine that. Even we can maybe pick a few sentences from 19th century, from some authors that we know, poetesses that we know, and that's about it. But I mean, when talking with Arabs and someone quoting Imrul Qais or Al-Khanza, this is something, this is 7th century. And they can, there's an ability to access it thanks to the language, and it's been really carrying on through all ages and eras. So maybe if you want to open a bit that, like, where are your influences coming from this very long tradition of Arabic poetry, then this would be very interesting to kind of see where we're going to go from here.
So I will make just inform you that I write in English, and actually Mute was originally scripted in English, and in terms of its influences, I would say that the influences of that type of voice are very Anglo-Saxon, actually, in terms of the tone of address, of self-approbation, of irony, etc. Now, the translation of this text was undertaken by Hala into Arabic. She rendered the Arabic version extremely beautifully, and Hala, through her own family, has had a long exposure to poetry, and so maybe you can talk about that.
It was a pleasure to work on a poem. It was very difficult to work because I am an actress, so I have to, and I'm the one who's going to play it, who's going to say it. So I had to find the good vocabularies, and I had to find the good rhythm, especially. And my question from the first beginning was how to find the same speed of the text, of the English text, the same pace of the English text, but to have it sounds like a real Arabic, as if it was written in Arabic. So it was more than translation. It was more like adaptation, kind of adaptation. We worked with Sulayman on, we changed, sometimes we changed not only vocabularies, we changed the structure in order to have an Arabic version, and for me it was really I'm so proud of it, because many times we hear that the text, that nobody thought that it was translated, and this is great, actually. As Sulayman said, yes, for me it is something that it was not the first time that I translated poetry. I do this I did it many times, actually, because I came from a poetic family. My father was a very well-known Arabic poet, Muhammad Omran. My sister also, Rasha, she's a well-known poet. And as Peter said, it is in the Arab world, poetry is the core of the society, and it's the core of the culture. It's not theater, it is poetry. So I think I have this in my body. We have the rhythm of poetry in our bodies, I think. What else? That's it.
Okay. We are celebrating the 500th birthday of the Estonian written literature. We celebrate the 500th birthday of Estonian book this year. The Arabic written documents date back at least 1,000 years, so there's a small difference in this. The writing in Arabic is the same in all places of the Arabic culture where it exists. So you can understand each other by writing. Although the Arabs have been split between very many countries and societies in the world. What's your opinion? What unites Arab people today most of all?
Do you mean in terms of language?
What unites the Arabs?
What unites the Arabs? A very big question in these days.
The Arabs are not united. The Arabs are divided and manipulated, under siege by their own rulers, under siege by colonial powers. I don't know, Hala, if you agree, but we are from a generation that's when we were young, there was still the notion of the Arabic nation, which is a great, let's say, ideological dream that was proposed after independence from the colonial powers in the middle of the 20th century. And there are Jamal Abdel Nasser and Egypt have proposed this great dream of unity from the Gulf to the Atlantic across all of those nations. And this ideology was abused by so many regimes. And the result is that today there is almost like écœurement, like disgust feeling towards this notion of Arab unity. So it's very difficult, and also they are very weak countries overall and increasingly poor. Really we have to understand the Arab world as a subjugated entity. It is subjugated, it is used, it is a prostitute to all of the resource grabbing, society destroying, neoconservatives, Americans, Israelis, and so on. Their only agenda is to transform that whole nation into a nation of slaves and broken people. So, and you can see that if you, like, Osama is our production manager, Selim. He is from Tunis. Tunisia is a beautiful country in the Mediterranean. I encourage you to visit. Tunis also, from the period of the rule under Bourguiba, was a very secular Arab country. So they were always very proud of their secular society and the rights of the individual and for women to be free of, let's say, the rules of Islam in the law. And Tunis, as a center of culture, was like a bride, beautiful bride that attract people from Africa, from across the Arab world to present work in their festival in Carthage. Since the so-called Arab Spring, that's 10 years ago or more now, 15 years ago. Arab Spring is you may remember, it is the uprisings of the popular uprisings against regimes inside, that began in Tunis actually, and spread to Egypt, then to Syria and other places. And since the suppression of these uprisings and because of the weakness of any forms of resistance, organized resistance movements in those societies, they failed. All these movements, they failed. And today, you go to Tunis. I first went to Tunis 25 years ago to play theater there. The table in the cafe is the same table from 25 years ago. The cloth is the same cloth, but now it have holes in it. That is the situation of Tunis today. Cairo we don't even start to speak about it because it is a military dictatorship. Military dictator. You are familiar with dictatorships. You will recognize many things if you come to the Arab world.
Okay, Hala, anything to add to that point?
Can you say
Yeah.
some poetry? Any good which,
No, nothing to add. Yeah, if I would go back to your question, what unites the Arab today is their disappointment, and is their hopeless situation. It's the dreams. Oh, it's not the visions of an old. Of an old Arab hero, of that we still read in the poetry, in the old Arab poetry. It's a fake image of an Arab, of a united Arab countries, actually, of a united Arab nation. It's I think in most of the Arabs, especially our generation, we still have this bitterness feeling of a word that could have been of a nation, of a country, of a society, or a culture that could have been much, much, much better, if.
Well, Peter, what do you think about this rather grim explanation on the situation? Is it really so that disappointment is what unites Arab world?
I think like every region and has gone through ups and downs. The question becomes really like, is there a chance to really rise again? I mean, will there be another Nahda, cultural one for a civilization as such? I mean, the Arab civilization. Then that how to come up from that situation, which I think is true. But we do see that even as you started, that there was the pan-Arab movements of last century, that somehow they had died, or there was no connection to it anymore, and the whole region became very fractured. I think with Arab Spring, actually, we saw once again how suddenly the whole region becomes one, or at least there's a similar aspiration among the young people. So it only took 30 years, which is long for some and not that long for...
I'm sorry, but in this discussion I have to say one thing. You cannot imagine the shame felt by every Arab person in front of the genocide in Gaza. You cannot imagine the sense of shame. And that is huge. And as Hala said, the poetic tropes of the sword, the horseman, these are abused by dictators to make themselves look prettier while they leave their people in shame.
And I think it's, I mean, that also takes together right now that for now and today, if we look what unites is really this very much felt, I mean, compassion is such a light word in that, but it is this very strong feeling behind Palestinians in the Arab world to support them, to help them in whatever way, and there are very little ways that the ordinary Arabs can do actually, but the Palestinian cause has united Arabs before, and I think it's uniting them in a way, at least right now, at least in terms of perception, not that they can really do, or they are doing something in unison. But of course, this is not enough to really somehow have a broader rising. But this does bring us to a question, I think, that there are those in the region who now claim the throne, basically. So it used to be Cairo, Damascus, Beirut, that were the centers of gravity for culture, for economy, for military power, and so on, Baghdad, to that matter. And this is now gone. So there's been a shift towards the Gulf Arab states, being it Saudi Arabia, being it UAE, being it Qatar. And I think the question now is that can they really take the throne, and can they really be up for the job to not be just an economic powerhouse, a military powerhouse, but really provide the broader Arab world something else. And I think yesterday during the play there were hints that they are not doing it, very clear ones, with all the shaky that they're putting forward right now. But then the question is it really possible, and can the Gulf Arab states somehow be the leaders of the Arab world?
Yeah, Sulayman talked about this question actually since the beginning of his of him making theaters, of his first writings, I think, and in Mute it is the same question. So.
No, I mean, Hala's means that one of my, I mean, I was a long time fascinated with the works of Shakespeare because of the relation, I mean, because of the deep inquiry that Shakespeare leads into the notion of kingship and leadership and sovereignty. Those aspects of the Shakespearean corpus fascinated me for a long time, and had lots of very important parallels and insights into those questions inside the Arabian Gulf, for instance, which is, as you may know, one of the largest collectives of monarchies in existing in the world. I mean, there is nowhere else that there is monarchies in so many countries like that. So those questions of power and sovereignty are important, I guess, to my work in theater. And I really wish for the peoples of the Gulf region and their leaders that they are able to lead, as you suggest. But I will keep my opinions to myself as to whether that is a real possibility, or even if the question can be asked in a real way.
Well, actually, what Peter said is that there is a tremendous shift from Beirut, from Baghdad, from Cairo towards the Gulf region, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha. What we see today is the enormous, well, winning side could be the right word, of the American culture, and even in Saudi Arabia. Football has become a sort of a national game in Saudi Arabia. They've spent hundreds of millions in order to promote football in the region. The stadiums are pretty empty, although all the games have been broadcasted all the time. So can I put it this way, that the American culture and the Western, this amusement park culture, is taking over the Arab world as well, and you consider that to be a problem?
Yes, for me it is a problem, and I need to say something about this shift, this historical shift from the Middle East, from the Levant to the Gulf. I don't think I can't see it as a normal historical movement, as just like something that is smoothly happening or what. It is something imposed. It is, for me, it is, I don't really believe in the complot, conspiracy theory, but I believe really that it is meant to be like this. There is someone, there's some things, there is, yes, the United States, yes, Israel, yes, others, yes, the arm industry, the bankers, yes, they are. It is something that was planned to be. The region, this Levant, it's not something that has been created out of just sudden. It's not like the Gulf. I'm sorry, Sulayman, but not like the Gulf countries. It's as Abdurrahman Munif, the great Saudi writer, said, it is the cities of salt. It is not like this, the Levant. It is a real history of culture. And this making it, breaking it, dividing it, erasing its culture, that it started a long time ago. It didn't start yesterday. It didn't start with the Arab Spring, actually. The Arab Spring was a result of the dictatorship, and it's been used to, I hope so, to do something else. But it is something, for me, planned to destroy the region. And I don't believe, actually, personally, I don't believe the Gulf countries can be the core, especially the Saudi Arabia, or the Emirates, Arab. I don't believe that they can replace the Levant. Anyway, they took most of the artists, most of the educated people, most of the teachers, most of the academic people from the Levant to the Gulf to build something at a certain moment, yani, in these established cities.
So you see already the tensions that are in the Arab world. My Levantine darling here, she's attack the Gulf. but I have to say, just to be fair also, for sure, there is no normal historical shift. It's not like saying, you know, oh, well, there is a movement that's just happened like that. No more Beirut, no more Cairo, no more Damascus. Now Abu Dhabi, Doha, that did not happen without a lot of misfortune and violence. But at the same time, one has to say that those centers are trying to navigate a way through an increasingly brutal landscape. The brutality of our time is something that we feel very exposed to. And so, and I'm sure also with your proximity to so many conflicts in the Ukraine, or with your proximity to borders that are either historically recent or, you know, and all of these tensions, you also feel these things. But we are moving into a new period of brutality, new levels of brutality in our lives. And this requires everybody to try to find a position to maintain their humanity, their dignity. And although I have my own reservations around the quest of many of the Gulf countries for their supremacy, they have the right, and they need to find, and I wish for them to find the way to maintain a sovereignty that is fair and just for their own people and for the people of the region and the people of the wider world. but you know, we are really in a new primitive order. There is a new primitivism across the world, and what you see happening in Gaza can happen anywhere, and you will be told that it is the right thing, and that is a new barbarism, and everybody has to stand up and say, not in my name.
Peter, can an average Estonian understand this thing, what we just heard?
I think it was very clear, and I think you're on point that it's not only the Arab world that is going through this transformation that is violent in different ways, not only the physical violence. I think this new component of this brutality is this very widespread surveillance, also taking pages in Estonian media every now and then, although I must say for not a very good reason usually here, but in many other places it's definitely becoming more and more of an attack against persons' freedom in a very, very, very personal, very, very private level. And this is not something only happening in the Arab world, but we see that happening also elsewhere. But I'm glad that we somehow managed to go through this two different ways of looking at what is Gulf and are they able to take the job or not? Because I think there's a broader, maybe or deeper level question there as well, that it's this tension is also this between Hadara, like civilization, and then Bedawi, or like this Bedouin culture. And I'm not sure if it's true that this is like really there, but I think the Levant and these older centers of power, culture, and so on still see themselves as having to offer much more than the Gulf countries can, at least at this stage, which doesn't mean that I think you can start a civilization from scratch, or maybe not. I guess we'll have to see that. Yeah, I think that's these are the few comments from my side right now.
Well, thank you. Let's open the discussion to the floor as well. So questions to the presenters, comments, everything's welcome, please. And please introduce yourself as well.
Good morning. This is Abdul Karim Jawad from Sultanate of Oman, Muscat, neighbor of Kuwait. However, I would like to thank Mr. Sulayman Al-Bassam for three things. First, he mentioned that the performance mute pleased young guys under 35. And this production pleased me. Okay. Second, I like the production, and I'm going to explain why I like it. And this is actually has a relation with our subject today, Arabic world. Third, I appreciate and evaluate that he mentioned Gaza. Gaza is our bleeding heart for everybody in Arab world, 300 to 400 millions. And actually nobody cares about that. Nobody talking about that. So thank you very much. You mentioned that here. And actually, you see, maybe I'm talking about educated people or enlightened people, they used to say or to be proud about Western values, principles. Nowadays, none of them, even me, who I was one of the people who are proud about Western values, democracy, human rights, and so on. But now, who can be proud about those words? So thank you for that. Now let me to talk about mute, the productions or the performance we saw yesterday. Please correct me. I'm going to explain my understanding to this performance. Actually, I suggest that you try to keep us in confusion situation between two things. A lot of things going on in Arabic words which has no meaning, observed. And nothing we can raise it as focal point. We are lost. Whom with whom and for what? We living in Arabic words, or at least this is my feeling, we living absurd life. So the one of the quality of the show, in my opinion, that saying everything and saying nothing. And this is not easy to do it in a performance. Second thing, I like very much the comparative situation between explosion of Beirut as real events happened and as a great tragedy in Arabic words, the comparing with the explosion in our subconscious, in our soul, inside us, inside every individual Arabic person. And this is for me, it was also very clever point. So if I am wrong, just correct me, and I will be, thank you again for correcting me. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much. Sulayman, want to comment?
I celebrate the Arab youth.
Hala? Any comments to that?
But thank you for this, and even though it was not directed to me, I'll take one of your points, and I think it's interesting that this point on that the situation is absurd, even despite the violence, despite the hopelessness that was mentioned here. The level of it is already becoming absurd, that it's in its very wicked way is it's funny, or it's becoming somewhat a target for at least, you know, for some humor, which Arabs are very famous for, and I think we see that, and this would be my kind of how do you see that? That this is some kind of a new trend also in Arabic, newer contemporary literature, that there is this extreme level of absurd. I'm just thinking of this now few years old novel of Frankenstein in Baghdad, which was a very, very obscure setup of Frankenstein being built from the body parts of a person in from persons who were killed in the war, and then this Frankenstein starts to go around Iraq and Baghdad and kill all the people that the body parts are from. Also, to take revenge on those who killed the different people that he was made of. So a very, very strange, definitely recommend, and it's also translated to English. But there are also others. So this is some kind of something that is being, you can sense it from afar. So I don't know if you have this feeling that the level of this hopelessness or violence, that it's getting to such an absurd level that now it's becoming a piece for artistic expression as well.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Where's that microphone?
Hello, my name is Nina Maria Häggblom. I'm a dramaturg from Finland. I have a question, but before I move into it, I would like to thank you for yesterday's studying performance, and my compliments to the writer for the beautiful text, and in no lesser means to the translator. I'm quite stunned to hear that this was a translated piece. I translate myself for the stage, and I am very impressed, so well done. My question regards, well, I'd be curious to hear you delve more into the concept of silence as a performance dramaturgical element. As a Finnish person, sort of my own cultural approach to silence, I feel like that really informed my experience as a spectator yesterday. I find that in Finland we don't only see silence as an auditory experience, it's very much a spatial experience as well. Someone who is loud or noisy or creates a lot of sound is often seen as intimidating or aggressive in a Finnish context. And if you look at the title of the piece, and if you choose to interpret it literally, there's an interesting irony in the production because the majority of there's very few moments of actual silence in the piece. So I would just be interested in here, like how you approached the concept of silence from a dramaturgical point of view. Thank you.
Well, so you're right. Mute is a very noisy piece. I wouldn't say noisy. It's a noisy piece. Yes. Somebody in Baghdad, I think, said to me, that they imagined this wonderful hallucination that the actress, he said that what should have happened is that the actress should have, when she took off her shoes, she should have begun a hallucination, a silent hallucination into the form of the shoe, and that the sound of the shoe, which is otherwise silent, should begin to resonate, and this should be an episode in the piece. And actually I thought that was a brilliant idea, but I haven't had time to work it in. But I do think that what you mention about silence in terms of a holistic experience is certainly not something that we addressed in this dramaturgy, but something that is fascinating, and so maybe we will make part 2.
Okay, any other questions, please?
Hello, my name is Grete. I'm from Grete Melby. I'm from University in Bergen in Norway, where I do a PhD, but also work a bit as freelance critic. I have a question about this explosion in Beirut, which I hear now is being referred to as a tragedy. But when we refer to these things as a tragedy, we know from the tragedy that there's something deterministic about a tragedy. It has to happen. Oedipus tries to avoid it, but it doesn't. It's not impossible to avoid. So I have also, and it's also interesting with this explosion. It was unintended. It was an accident, you can say. But at the same time, it happened for a reason, or there are reasons why it happened, and I'm kind of interested when your piece is, when I was in the piece, experience your performance, there was some sort of no reasons for why it happened, given it was description of how it was experienced. And it interests me because I know that there are people saying, well, it was owned by this Russian company who is registered in Cyprus, going ahead to, and then it was stopped by Lebanese governments, and then a lot of bureaucracy, lack of competence, taking care of it. So I would like to ask you, is that kind of reflections muted in this performance? Or, yeah, would you like to elaborate?
Sure, thank you, that's a great question. So this event is, to this day, there is no body responsible. And there was a special enquête, inquiry being led by a Lebanese judge that has literally gone nowhere. It's going around and around for many, many years, and the judge has been threatened, and there has been so many episodes. And to this day, the reasons other than, well, it's ammonium nitrate, and when ammonium nitrate is exposed to heat, I mean, this scientific, let's say, description that the engineer explained in the documentary sound evidence. So this is an event that many regard as a crime that has no perpetrator. It's like the body of Frankenstein body that's looking for the parts. This is a crime with no perpetrator, and we avoided actually intentionally to enter into the let's say labyrinth of accusations or suspicions or counter accusations. We even avoided to name the victims. We did approach it from a very, let's call it, cold, empirical point of view, though the testimony of the Brigadier General Elias Farhat is very human also. He say, I have a friend who was down in the port fishing, and of course, an event like that is, on one level, a real event, whether you describe it as tragic because it's an adjective that people use, or as opposed to Aristotelian tragedy, but it's also a metaphorical event. You know, how is it that you can have something like that happens? So many people are destroyed, killed. The city is broken, and nothing happens. No consequences, no perpetrators. So this is a metaphor for something else as well. In fact, there is a French philosopher whose name I cannot remember right now, who compared the explosion in the port of Beirut to the explosion of rage inside the human species that was being suffocated during the COVID pandemic. At the same time, there was George Floyd in America who cannot breathe. There is the ammonium nitrate that destroys a whole city, and everybody is under the rules of pandemic, new sanitary global order. So in that sense, we prefer to remain very, let's call it factual.
Well, thank you. Yesterday, Sulayman, you mentioned that the event in Beirut is actually an unsolved crime. And maybe the audience doesn't know that the same quantity of ammonium nitrate was also held in Tallinn port in 1997 by also a Russian company. But any other questions, please? Yeah, our friend from Finland.
Yes, I have quite a practical question. Your team members are based in different countries. So I'd be interested in hear like how you handled the practicalities of the development process. Did you work like as part of a like in artistic residencies online? How did you manage to just get this piece together?
Yes, I mean throughout my work in Arabic language theatre. Always my team members have been based in different places. Since the Arab Spring, those distances have grown because there was an enormous migration of talent, let's say, from Beirut and Damascus and other places to European centers. We work through residencies, in answer to your question. Yeah, we work through intense period of residencies that we undertake in one location or several locations with periods of work and then periods of rewriting or reflection and then another residency.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, our time is up, so in 20 minutes the theatrical show will continue. Thank you very much, distinguished panelists. And from my experience, I can tell a story. When I asked a high official of the federal government of the Arab Emirates, what does it take to understand your world and culture? And the answer was, you have to drink a lot of tea. So thank you very much, Sulayman, Hala. Thank you, Peeter. Have a nice day, everybody.